Our founder and CTO, Nir Zuk, will share his perspective on why network security needs a radical new approach. Let's get started.
Hi, everyone. I have some exciting news to share with you today. Thank you all for joining us in this presentation. Let's get started. First thing I want to talk about is disruption. 13 years ago, when we launched our next generation firewall, I stood on stages, good news, real stages, bad news, much smaller audience than today, and preached to the world that the network security market needs a disruption, needs a new type of product, which we introduced at that time, the next generation firewall. And of course, since then, next generation firewall has taken the world over because of what it changed, right? Securing all applications, consolidating network security into a set of SaaS services and other things that it has done to disrupt the market. And since then, every time I talk in public, I've been asked, what do you do in order to make sure that nobody disrupts you? What if there is a new disruption in network security or in other areas that Palo Alto Networks is playing in? And that disruption is going to eventually do to you what you've done to the traditional network security vendors. And my answer has always been, it's my job, it's our job to always be on the look for a potential disruption and make sure we're ahead of that disruption, make sure that we are the one disrupting and not being disrupted by someone else, whatever the implications are. And usually the implications are, for the short term, not so great, because when you disrupt, whether it's you disrupt yourself or someone is disrupting you, there is a technology shift, and that technology shift creates some gap in the market where customers are getting used to the new technology. But look, if we didn't do it, someone else would do it. We have to disrupt. And then the second thing I've talked about in the past, and I'll mention today, is that the way disruption works is you don't build something and then you figure out, whoa, I built something disruptive. It's the other way around. You look for opportunities to disrupt, and then you disrupt. You build the products that deliver that disruption. And now, 13 years later, after announcing the next generation firewall, by the way, 26 years after stateful inspection, which I created, disrupted network security the previous time. So something strange with 13 years. And I hope to see you here 13 years from now with another disruption that I'll bring to the market. Now, 13 years later, we are ready for another disruption. So again, to disrupt, you need to find out what the disruption is and then disrupt. So let's talk about what the disruption. Why is the network security market ready for disruption? And the reason is that, security in general is a cat and mouse game. We chase the developments that are being forced upon us by both IT, meaning advances in the IT world, like public cloud and mobile and so on, as well as the adversaries, which keep coming out with new and new innovative ways to attack, and we need to adjust to that. And the reason we're ready for disruption is because we got to a point where the current path we're on is probably not the right path to be in the sense that the advancements that we've made over the last 13 years are small steps every time, and we need a huge step right now. So for example, you probably know that when we started, the standard in the industry was to do signature updates every 24 hours, which we did too. But then we were able to cut it down to much less than 24 hours. It went to a few hours and an hour and 15 minutes and 10 minutes, an hour at 5 minutes. And yeah, we can continue with that. We can work really, really hard and get to 4 minutes. And then we need to work really, really, really hard and get to 3 minutes and so on. But we just can't continue to do that. We need to be more real time. Also, the way we support new devices and new operating systems. So there's a lot of work around supporting Windows operating systems on the IPS side, for example, and the anti-malware side. And there's work around supporting Linux endpoints and Linux servers and Mac endpoints and so on. But now we're dealing with IoTs. All of a sudden, we need to deal with thousands and tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands of different devices with different operating systems and different vulnerabilities and different solutions required and so on. So we can't really continue on the same path. It kind of looks like this, right? I mean, we're going up the steps and we're getting better and better at different things, but we're about to hit a wall with the number of devices that we need to support, with the updates where going down from 5 minutes to 4 minutes and 3 minutes is becoming exponentially harder and takes longer time for us to do, while we need to support many more signatures and so on. There's also the number of different devices that our customers deal with are leading to more complicated security policies. And if you continue the current path where every time there's something new in the infrastructure, our customers need to create a new security policy and figure out how to secure it and so on in a manual way, it's all these stairs that you see here in the picture. We're about to hit a wall, okay? We're walking towards a dead end, and something has to be done about it. So when I see something like that, when me and my colleagues at Palo Alto Networks see something like that, we know that the world of network security is ready for disruption. And doing what we do today, which is trying to reduce signature updates more and more, is not working. And since adding and supporting more and more devices manually by our engineers, right, supporting Linux and supporting Windows and supporting Mac and so on, each is a huge R&D project. And because policies are exploding because of the number of things that we need to support and cloud and so on, it's time probably to change network security, stop doing things manually, and to bring in the machines. It's time to bring in machine learning into network security and do things that we traditionally have done manually in an automated way using machine learning. Now, you probably know that machine learning has been used for a long, long time in different areas of network security. But it's been used, number one, not inside the firewall itself, but outside the firewall, in things like sandboxing and behavior analytics, UEBA, and a few other things as well. But it was more kind of pixie dust being spread on top of different things, right? So we need to do sandboxing. Let's put a little bit of the machine learning pixie dust on top of it and make sandboxing better. Or UEBA, yeah, let's sprinkle a little bit of machine learning on top of that, and it's going to work better. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about taking machine learning and bringing it into the core of network security, right? It has to go into the core of network security, which means it needs to go into the core of the firewall. And that's not a simple thing to do. Like, how do you do machine learning in real time at gigabits and 10 gigabits and 100 gigabit speeds? And you have to do it in an accurate way. You have to do it in a way that doesn't create false positives, which is not easy with signatures and certainly not easy with machine learning and so on. It took us a long time to perfect the technology to be able to drive it into the core of network security. There are really 4 requirements for driving machine learning into the core of network security, meaning if you do this, then you've probably done a good job driving machine learning into the core of network security. And if you haven't done that, you probably haven't driven machine learning into the core of network security. So first, machine learning needs to be inline, meaning you can't just do it like, we do sandboxing and other things where machine learning is running somewhere there in the cloud, and then in parallel, you let the traffic go. And then at some point you try to figure out what went wrong and recover that. You have to be inline. The second thing, being inline, means it has to be embedded. There are things you can do embedded really, really quickly at microsecond latencies, but also cloud-based machine learning has to be delivered inline, which means the firewall collects data, sends it to the cloud, waits, the cloud within a few milliseconds calculates whatever it needs to calculate with machine learning, send it back, and then the firewall can let it go through. Why do we need to do it in the cloud? Because, of course, on the firewall itself, we have, in many cases, limited compute power. In the cloud, it's unlimited. Also, to be considered having machine learning at the core. When you do machine learning in the cloud, that takes longer time, like sandboxing and UEBA and other things. Once you reach a decision, I gave you a hint before, you need to be able to push that decision immediately into the firewall. You can't do it in a signature update every 5 minutes or 4 minutes or 3 minutes and so on. It's just getting more and more difficult to do that, and it's not fast enough. You make a decision, immediately go into the firewall and implement that decision. And of course, the other thing that's required, which should be going without saying, but it's not, is massive data collection. To run machine learning, you need a lot of data. You know, many products on the market can't even do any log. They'll crash when you try to do that. Nevertheless, being able to collect massive amount of data. So what are we introducing today? We're introducing the world's first machine learning powered next generation firewall. A firewall that delivers on all the requirements that I talked about today, a firewall that drives machine learning to the core and is able to run without signatures in real time and perform operations that would otherwise require either my engineers or your security analysts to do things manually in a world where scalability becomes a challenge. Now, speaking of competitors, we're doing this presentation today. Our competitors are here watching it. Welcome to all of you. Tomorrow morning or even tonight, the competitive machine is going to start working to counter what the market leader, Palo-Alto Networks, is saying. It's always like that. And I've showed you this many years ago, probably 10 years ago. What I'm going to show you now, our competitors are going to go to the same stages that they've gone through in the last 13 years when it comes to competing against Palo-Alto Networks. The first stage is dismissive. Nobody needs it. Machine learning, inline, who needs that? What we do is enough, don't worry about it. That doesn't work because customers like what we do. They're going to buy it and so on. The next step is denial. Oh yeah, we've been doing machine learning at the core of the firewall forever. No, we don't do the 4 requirements that Nir presented, but we've been doing machine learning forever in the firewall. And of course, when that doesn't work, comes the prophecy, wait, don't switch to Palo Alto Networks or just come to us. In a year or two, we'll have machine learning running inside the core of the firewall. We're working on it just now. And of course, the fourth stage, when that doesn't work because their architecture doesn't support running machine learning at the core of the firewall is, oh, look, our device does exactly what their device does. Don't test it, but it does. And then comes the long decline of fixing it and trying to put more and more lipstick on the pig and get you to believe that it works. It didn't work 13 years ago, and it's not going to work now. This is a real disruption. We've been working on that disruption for a long time, and replicating that is going to be very, very difficult. So thank you very much for listening, and I hope you enjoyed the rest of this event.